G'day, guys. Here we are.
Hey, thank you everybody for coming on board. Hey, look, we're just going to chop straight into this tonight. What we've basically done is obviously gone through this last weekend, absolutely incredible with regards to the turnout at New Zealand's biggest hunting expo, which of course is the Sika Show, hosted at Mystery Creek, Hamilton. We're going to go through a brief how the event went and also break down some of the yarns, so to speak, that we got across the counter as we went through and obviously participated in this event. Before we do, though, I think it's very, very important that we go ahead and introduce, obviously, Steph, who's in the chat tonight. She was also at the Sika Show. Some of you may already know who she is. She's the one behind the scenes within PracMed who does a lot of the work. She's the one who really makes things work at the business level. And so instead of me sitting here going through and introducing Steph and telling the world about what she's about, Steph, why don't you take it away? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you fit into the company.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm the general manager. Like Simon said, I'm sort of behind the scenes most of the time, dealing with all the businessy stuff. Basically taking Simon's wild dreams and trying to make them into realities. Trying to just help build the business. I basically started. I'm pretty much the only civilian. Admin team's the only civilians in the company. I am Simon's partner as well. So I came into the business at the first hunting show from a few years ago before all the lockdowns and everything. And I had literally was just there for moral support and to get coffees and stuff like that. And that first show went pretty hectic, and soon realized that I need to jump in and help out. And I kind of just never stopped. It was supposed to just be me fixing his Facebook posts and spell checking for him, and then here I am, full time, and basically we're on this wild ride together, and trying to bring real evidence-based medicine to New Zealanders. And for somebody with no med background, I'm pretty fortunate in. And I hope it stays this way in my lack of experience, firsthand experience in first aid. It's been a pretty wild ride of learning all of this stuff and hearing all the really cool stories. And I mean, Sika Show was an exact example of that. The yarns that people spin, a lot of people have had some pretty wild experiences and some pretty lucky escapes, some pretty close calls, some pretty bloody courageous efforts to try and bring people back from the edge. And, that's the stuff that I absolutely love to hear. It's why we do what we do. And it's just really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, awesome. So, Steph, thank you for joining us tonight. And I think it's important to have you here. Obviously, I'm just a talking head. So, what I think we'll do is we'll just get straight into it. Just before we do, I think there's probably actually, should we do the announcement now? Should we do it at the end? In terms, we've got some big news for you too. If you're listening in live, we've got some big announcement for those of you who are into the training side of the house, and we're about to shake up the training space even more than what we already are. Do you want to do that now or at the end?
Oh, now let's go to the end. We'll get through the end. We'll get through the meaty part now. We'll get through all these crazy yarns. So basically, the intent of today, we had so many people come through the stall. We got to have some really great conversations with people. And as always happens when there's lots and lots of people, there's lots and lots of stories. There's some absolutely terrifying myths and rumors and things that come through. And I just want to clear up now, us doing this, it's not a bashing of the people who came to us and shared stories or anything like that. It's absolutely not that. What we want to try and do, what our intent always is to increase everybody's level of knowledge to what it should be. Some people came through relatively inexperienced, and they'd seen things online, they'd seen things on movies, they'd watched some dodgy YouTube videos. And it's not always the safest or easiest or best place to get information. Some people had come through and they'd literally just finished a course and had been told some serious misinformation. So our goal is to re-educate from an evidence-based perspective, basically just raise that level of knowledge so that we've got more responders out there who are ready to kick ass and hopefully are not hindering the processes if and when the time has come.
Yeah, 110%. Okay, so I just like to verify that would solidify that as well. This is not about, and we're not out to humiliate anybody. This is about education, in short. So anyway, let's get this on the road. Steph's got a few overlays. Let's bring up the first one, go through and address this. And I just want to reiterate this. You've got to understand out there, team. You may have done a course recently, and it's really easy to be sucked in and believe what an instructor has to say, but I have a tendency to question everything, and really the question has to be: is it evidence based? Is it evidence based? Is it backing? Is anything about it? Yeah. So let's go through. Let's have a look at the first one.
Beautiful. So a very large portion of these are surrounded around the use of tourniquet. So let's bring this one up. You're better off leaving a tourniquet in its plastic to protect it. Simon.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm just going to jump on this straight away. That's absolute lunacy. I ran a course today. It was really, really pleasing to know the people that I was working with. They weren't. They actually have tourniquets within their working environment, and it was really pleasing to hear that they had removed the plastic from those TQs. The tourniquets are not kept sterile by the stuff, and even if they were, it really doesn't matter. It's an external control device. It's something which is used obviously for the big three are really amputation above the wrist or ankle, above the toe line, finger line, arterial bleeding, or if you can't control a hemorrhage, say crush injury or multiple penetrating traumas, can be used for venous bleeding as well. So just want to go through and absolutely clarify that if you need a tourniquet, you need to get it out really, really, really quick. You don't want to sit it in the packaging. That is simply there to show you it's an OEM product, not something that protects it, keeps it sterile. It will simply hinder you. It doesn't matter whether it's a soft cat, any of the other ones which are out there or anything like that. First of all, make sure you're getting from a legitimate supplier. Second of all, make sure you pull it out of the packet. That way as well, you can make sure you go through your checks on it. It's just like any other piece of equipment. You need to go through and functions check it. And of anything, this is something that you probably want to make sure does work, because when you need it, it better work for you. If not, then make sure you're keeping the barbecue warm and the beer's colder on the other side, because that's where you're going to end up. Take it out of the packet, man.
Yeah, 100%. So like Simon's just saying, it is suppliers like us, we supply it in a plastic, so you can see it's coming through with the instruction manual from the actual supplier. You can see that it's from a legitimate supplier and not a wish.com knockoff version. 100% take it out of the plastic. Absolutely no good for you. So let's jump in for the next one. My belt will work fine as a tourniquet. Now, I heard this one probably 5 times across the weekend. Couple of times in jest for people who just didn't want to talk to us and were just saying my belt's fine, and then like waltzing off. That's fine. That they're obviously just taking the piss. I did hear it legitimately from about 3. So this is something that people still think is okay, and Hollywood probably has a lot to answer for in this one.
Okay, so let's just go through and let's just look at this. Okay, to achieve limb occlusive pressure, you're looking at approximately 100 millimoles of mercury above systolic pressure. Normal systolic pressure in terms of your blood pressure, which is created by your heart beating, is approximately 120 millimoles. So we need to go through and we need to look at that as an approximation for gaining limb occlusive pressure. To go through and to think that you're going to actually achieve that, particularly on a lower limb, being the leg or quad, is absolutely ridiculous. We've tried this, we've tested it. There's been evidence-based studies which have gone into this, and it simply doesn't work. If it did, okay, belt manufacturers rejoice. Your stock's going to go through the roof. Okay, go through and supply every military, police, fire, and civilian agency which requires / everybody who needs them / everybody tourniquets which are going to be made from your belt. Okay, it just simply doesn't work. All right, your buckle's going to probably pop before the thing is actually going to reach that pressure. We've got to remember to make a tourniquet to reach that limb occlusive pressure. Generally, the majority of them use a mechanical advantage system, being a windlass, which rotates around and around, and obviously tensions the occlusive strap up into that pressure where you gain hemorrhage control. Okay, especially on those bigger limbs, you're never, ever, ever going to achieve that without that mechanical advantage there. On smaller limbs, yeah, sure, you get away with things like elasticated wraps and stuff like that. But the reality is, for an adult, there's just no way. So tourniquets, belts, just not the same thing. Let's not get that that misinformation, that kind of idea that that is going to work for you. It just simply isn't. Okay, one is made for one thing, that's keeping your damn pants up. The other one is made for stopping bleeding when you really need it. Differentiate the two.
I did actually have a follow-up question from one of the guys who said, I can use my belt as a TQ. And he said, okay, but can I use a TQ as a belt? And I was like, oh, well, technically you probably can, but it's going to be a pain in the ass to need it as a TQ. So not recommended. But,
Yeah.
I know, I'm pretty sure you have once at one stage too. I think we're at the rugby and you were like completely, pets are falling down and you always have your TQ. So
I'm going to right now. That didn't happen. Okay, there's a freaking myth. All right. But it is I don't know, it's a good idea. All right. So obviously you can the Cat tourniquet or the Cat 7, Cat 6, whichever one that you got there, that won't go around your waist. I know that the soft T tourniquet, Special Operation Forces tourniquet definitely does, which is pretty cool. It goes around my waist fairly comfortably. My waist is size 34. So those of you who are size 34, look, if you really want to go crazy with it, a soft tourniquet as well. How much does it cost? Like $60, $65, something around about that. That's probably on par with most of your, I guess, semi-label or kind of cheaper end kind of label belts or whatever else. But yeah, you can save yourself. If you're a Calvin Klein buyer and you want to be the Batman, then maybe that's one you can go through and obviously use. So yeah, hey, just want to throw it out there as well, team. If you guys have got any questions throughout this, if you want anything clarified, please do hit us up on the live chat as well. I can see G-Man is in the house, throwing up the shucker there. And Damien, yeah, it's good to, I don't know what you're saying there, bud, but I can't I can't breathe over the hilarity of some of these things. Yeah, okay, I get it. But it's about education, okay, about education. So we're not trying to go through and embarrass anybody. Anyway, let's roll on the next question. TQs for belts, don't do it.
Right. Oh, sorry, that's the same one.
Next one.
One. I wouldn't bother putting gloves on if a stranger was bleeding out. Now, this one was crazy because we were in Hamilton. No. So again, Simon, over to you on this one, mate.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's go through and look at this. Okay, I wouldn't bother putting gloves on if a stranger was bleeding out. Now, it's entirely up to you. If you don't want to, and I get it, not everybody walks around with a set of gloves in their pocket like me or anything like that. I do that because that's part of my process for slowing down. Okay, and in terms of going through, that helps me when I'm dealing with a med situation and prompt you. Taking the time to put some nitrile gloves on. If someone's going to bleed to death that time, they're dead anyway. When we look at the flow rates, for example, through the brachial artery of the upper arm, you're looking at around about, on an adult male, 180 mils per minute from each brachial artery, and through the femoral artery, you're looking around about 285 mils per minute. To put that into context, what we're looking at is there's approximately 75 mils per kilogram of mass that you're looking at with regards to blood volume. So that means me at 100 kilograms, I have 7.5 liters of blood. In the time that it takes you to put those gloves on, okay, a few seconds, literally 15, even 20 seconds at a push, that time is not going to be really that negligible in terms of somebody living or dying. Certainly, I've never had a case where it's been definitive of somebody passing away or living. And again, that's my process for slowing down. But again, look, if you don't use the gloves, if you don't wear them, that's on you. But just remember, the skin is an awesome barrier from communicable disease. But as soon as it's split, nicked, or whatever else, it's not. Plus, blood isn't the only thing that we're thinking about with first aid here. If you've kind of got any skin in the game, you understand that urine, feces, vomit, saliva, there's all sorts of body fluids which are out there. So protect yourself from those. Those are pretty nasty to get on your body and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty important. Glove up, okay? Nitrile gloves. Make sure you got the right size as well. There's nothing worse than being given some advice, some real handy advice, like, hey, use bread bags on your hands. especially when you're losing that dexterity from losing your fine motor skills when you're sitting there in an improvised situation. So, yeah, go ahead, make sure you've got a good set of gloves, and make sure you get them on before you go through and do the med. Slow down, take your time. It's not going to be definitive. So, yeah, over to you anyway.
Yep, no, agreed. Okay, this one. No one actually carries TQs in their hunting kits.
All right, that's weird. We've supplied, I don't know how many tourniquets out to the masses. Yeah, we've gone through, we've sent out, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and we price ours to be as close to, well, make as little margin on them as possible. And the reason for that is really quite simple. Okay, we want more people to have good equipment. We obviously are the official and only sole distributors for TACMed Solutions in New Zealand. And look, I must be the only weirdo. Oh, hey, look, there's another one there. Damien, he carries two. Okay. Yeah, same. Look, I do the same thing. Okay. Look, I think the bare minimum is one. Okay. And there seems to be a little bit of misinformation out there about that as well. When you look at the Cat 7 new generation Cat tourniquet and also the new Soft 5 tourniquet from TACMed Solutions, they have a 100% efficacy rate in terms of achieving limb occlusive pressure going through and doing their thing. So, yeah, that's a interesting one for sure. We've just had Dylan Ackley pop up there as well. Let's get his comment up there. What a yarn. Everyone I know carries a TQ in hunting. Thank you, Dylan. I think it's probably the minority. We've got to remember, so I'm guessing a lot of these guys are jumping on now, military folk for sure. So obviously we've got to get the education out there, and there is assumed knowledge within the communities that we belong to and have had, but we need to get that knowledge further out there, and this is largely what that's for. Okay, but yeah, we'll be adding to things soon enough. We'll be adding to things soon enough for the rest.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this was a person who came past and was chatting to me, and I sort of that the person was only relatively young, and to their credit, we sat and we chatted about it for quite a while, probably a good 10 minutes, about why they're really important, and they were literally blown away because they honestly thought it was just something for the movies. So like you said, from the military folk and people who are exposed to this at a pretty institutional level. You have, like you said, a preconceived knowledge of what civilians think and carry. And this young guy is like, oh no, where am I going to put it? I've got my Kansas V and basically, high level priorities. So, we had a good yak about it, and he was really fantastic about, considering the risks. And, as we always put it at these sorts of things, you spend how much on your rifle, you spend how much on your scope, you spend how much on, all the accessories, yet the one accessory that you will need if you need it is, like you said, $65, and it's not something you use every day. It's something that hopefully you never ever use. It's not going to go out of date. It's not going to perish. So, so that was an interesting one. And obviously, like you said, we're here to change that conversation and hopefully get more people out.
Sorry, can I just jump on that one as well? I just want to say, the vast majority, and I'd say almost every single person I engage with, I listen to your stories, I listen to your yarns, and then went through. And if there's anything we've got to jump on top of, we went through and we just had the most fantastic response from the majority of people. I think there was only like one or two people who really didn't want to hear it, that maybe there was something they could learn or take away from the expo or whatever else. And we're giving information for free there. So that was super important. And I think it's a great segue to a comment which has just popped up. See if you can just blow that up, from Mike King. What is your first aid course cover? So really, quite simply, basically, we have a range of different first aid courses ranging from 4 hours, which is New Zealand's Stop the Bleed program, where we go through, PracMed Stop the Bleed, where we go through and we teach everybody how to deal with traumatic injury. And that's everything from a little anatomy and physiology, so you understand how the engine works, right through to going through and using different pieces of equipment, which will set you up and treat you or kind of send you in the right direction. We also do unit standards, so we are accredited by the NZQA. We do have different courses. All of them have the Stop the Bleed associated with them, or Stop the Bleed course associated with them. And we have an announcement about training tonight as well that you may want to stay tuned for. So hang in there. I've just seen another comment here pop up as well from Damien. we are still fighting that use of tourniquet leads to amputation. Can we just get that comment up on the screen?
Yeah,
Sorry.
so this one actually leads in. I'll bring that up when we come back to it, because there is another one of the comments that come through. So I'll bring that up when we speak about it when the next one comes up. But I just will cover with the first aid course as well. So like Simon said, we do everything from the half day through to the multi, and we also have remote areas specific courses. So basically, for those people who are either working or living or playing out rurally, or where help is more than a phone call away, it basically covers things that are outside of your sort of workplace first aid scope. It's a little bit more relevant. So all of our courses are just aimed to be relevant and practical and engaging, rather than just a tick flick kind of take your money, here's a certificate kind of situation. Cool. So I'll bring up the next one. Is this the next one? Aha. Okay. This one was really interesting. So this person is a first responder for one of our government agencies, and they literally did a course 2 weeks ago, and was told by the trainer that only first responders are allowed to use tourniquets. Now, my question was, in your line of work as a first responder, how many tourniquets have you actually been able to apply? And their answer was none. And I said, well, why is that? So the realistic thing is, if you need a tourniquet, you need it now. We've said that already, and we say it a lot. We say it all the time. But most of the time, unless an incident occurs right outside a station, first responders aren't going to be there in time for a tourniquet. So, I mean, Simon, anything to sort of add on that one?
Yeah, so that's ridiculous. I just want to hit on it. And the way I think we approach this is very simple. When we look at it from a legislative standpoint, there's nothing in terms of law or legislation which states that. So, first of all, check on that. Second of all, yeah, Steph, you absolutely nailed it. By the time that somebody gets on top of you, when you go through and look at the national reports or the national performance for call outs and response times and stuff like that, look, if you need a tourniquet, the majority of the time, you're probably going to be done by the time the ambulance gets on top of you. I know of a few responders who have gone through and applied tourniquets. Don't get me wrong, it's something which can happen, but every single drop of blood that you lose, everything that you lose, it's one of these things that if we don't get under control, it just prolongs the period that you're going to stay in hospital, and it also increases the chance of mortality as well. So if we get people trained correctly, and that is very, very important, there is some dangerous shit going down range. And I'm just going to jump on this right now. There was people coming through allegedly done some hunting orientated course recently who had been taught to release a tourniquet every 7 minutes. Okay. Yeah, sweet. And that is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay. We're going to cover off on that soon. But yeah, be very careful about who you train with. We're very objective about this. If you hit us up, I'll let you know who's a decent providers out there and who are just absolutely guessing. There are some others who do very, very well, but yeah, it's something that we've just got to go through and jump on top of. And yeah, so anyway, next question.
Yeah, I think just before we move on, I just want to add two things. So our youngest person that we've trained, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but our youngest that I'm aware of is 11 years old, maybe 12 years old. And we've had a couple in that age range of young workers who are out there getting it done.
No, it was younger than that. I think it was 7 or 8 years old in Hamilton. So yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, it just goes to show it's these things aren't rocket science. You do need to know how to use them and how to apply them properly. Oh, if Simon, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay, cool. The other thing to note with this as well is that next year there's going to be a whole host of changes. We've seen the first drafts. We like to think we might have played a wee little part in this ourselves, but the actual unit standards that covered in most workplace first aid courses, they're unit standard 6402 and 6401. At the start of the year, there was this huge hooey with all the different training providers, and basically everyone was given an opportunity to sit down with the representatives from NZQA and talk about sort of a state of the nation. How do we find the scenarios? Are they fit for purpose? Are there any changes we'd like to see? Blah, blah, blah. When we sat down with the lady, poor lady, it was kind of double barrel from both of us. And she was just blown away because most of the other providers had said, nah, everything's great. We don't want to change anything. Keep doing what we've done. We haven't needed to change anything for the last, I think it was something like 7 years, minor changes, but leave it as it is. And we're like, no, hemorrhage control. You know, we need to know that bleeding comes above breathing. We need to know all of these things. And lo and behold, their first draft has come out, and it will be mandatory for people to learn about tourniquets. They're going to be focusing on gunshot wounds and stabbings, which, you know, whatever. But it's a step in the right direction, and they have acknowledged that bleeding does come before breathing. But what this means is next year in your regular workplace first aid courses from every provider, they're going to be starting to talk about tourniquets. So on one hand, it's absolutely fucking amazing that the awareness is going to start skyrocketing of these incredible life-saving equipment. Awesome. Other hand is we've got training providers who are got government contracts who are telling our responders things that are incorrect. And that's not going to change next year. That's probably just going to get a whole lot worse because there's an awful lot of people out there who don't know really what they're talking about, which is, you know, it's pretty scary. It's a pretty scary place. So, you know, next year, anyone doing any course for any provider, you'll start to see tourniquets if you haven't already.
Yeah, 110%. I'll just add on that real quick as well. Sorry, this is becoming a little bit of a snowball out there, team. We'll get on to the next question real soon, but I just want to go over and look at that real quick. We've obviously launched an initiative. It's basically 30 to 60 seconds, 60 to seconds to 3 minutes. We were going through and discussing different first aid topics and different pieces of kit and equipment. And yeah, in the future, we're going to build on this more and more and more. And tourniquets is going to be one of these things that we cover. You can use it as a reference, as a library. If you've got questions about it, send it. And this is really important. But as a trainer, you need to really look in the mirror and you need to ask yourself, should you actually really be teaching this stuff? And if you have no actual relevant experience in this topic, and I mean, if you haven't gone through, if you have not actually provided med, if you have not actually gone through and actually worked as a medical provider in the realm of pre-hospital care, maybe that's something you need to reconsider. Because you know what? People who are sitting there, they're taking your word as freaking gospel. And it is absolutely dangerous that you're doing this. And people are going to obviously, succumb to some really shit information out there. So chin check yourself, check the ego at the door, and just make sure you look after, obviously, the public in general. Like I said before, if you're interested in learning about the stuff, we've been running tourniquet classes for a long time now. And doing some really, really good work there with results, which are coming back through in terms of the feedback. So anyway, hit us up, look us up if you, need to go through and learn further or want further information around these things. Anyway, let's get on to the next question.
Yeah, beautiful. Only got a couple left to go. This one. This one. I got this twice. Again, one of them completely in jest and the other one completely not in jest. And this was from somebody who has worked in a pre-hospital emergency care role, obviously not in the last probably decade or maybe more. It's being generous, but it was completely legitimate. I was just saying, hey, how's this expo going? Basically just doing this is what we do. And it just was like, we don't need any of this stuff. All you need to carry is duct tape.
Yeah, that's just not acceptable. Now, look, there are some commonly kind of found office products and stuff like that. You can go through and find them, and they actually work okay for minor things. I mean, we're talking lacerations here. I mean, what I'm talking about is going through and using things like super glue, to close up a wound and stuff like that. It works fine. Is it the best thing in the world? Probably not. We've got things like Hyperfix, butterfly stitches. Duct tape doesn't adhere particularly well to the skin. Electrical tape goes okay for the tradies listening out there. It goes hard with things like little nicks and clips on the fingers. There's no issues with that. Personally, though, again, just use what's actually designed and made for treating these things. 100%. I'm just looking at the comments here. 100% duct tape man carries tampons. Okay, and in that context, what we're talking about there is tampons for gunshot wounds, and that's something we're actually going to cover off on. So anyway, duct tape, hey, look, it's a great product and stuff like that. It has absolutely definitely got other uses within the world of medicine, as does other kind of tapes and so on. But in terms of mid-gear, if you're bleeding catastrophically or you've got a massive hemorrhage going down range, your duct tape's not going to do much for you. In fact, it's going to do absolutely nothing for you, except for maybe I don't know, nothing. Yeah, just nothing. So there it is. Anyway, next one.
Next one. Here we are, as per usual. Now, this one was interesting because ordinarily at most expos we go to, we're heavy on the tampons and we're heavy on the sanitary pads. This one was more the nappies for some weird reason.
What's up, hunters?
What's
Okay, so look, I understand the concept. Again, I get it completely. When we look at sanitary products, they're designed to absorb. They're designed to absorb small amounts of obviously fluid or blood from as a woman's sanitary product is. But these are not designed for catastrophic hemorrhage. Are they going to work on a small laceration or a capillary bleed from a graze or a cut? Of course, they're going to work. But that wound is going to go ahead and self-coagulate, in a few minutes anyway. So, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to go through. I mean, you'll never catch me walking around the bush with a friggin' nappy strapped across my knee because, I fell over and split my friggin' leg open or something like that on a stump. That's why I carry a real bandage, a decent compression bandage, which is not going to fall off. Are you going to go through, secure it on your leg using the friggin', what are they called? The elasticated loops, the little friggin' things that you, and I should know this. I do about 100 nappies a day when I'm at home. But yeah, anyway, going through, it's not going to work. Again, we've got to look fit for purpose. And again, I just want to say I had one person come through and impart their knowledge on me regarding tampons for gunshot wounds. I just want to say thank you so much again for listening. I listened to the person. I had them kind of spill their beans and everything like that. And, it was an awesome little conversation. And they went away. They took a bunch of pamphlets away to go through, do some training later or whatever. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. They were receptive to what was being said then and there. I explained the why. And if you want to look at why tampons suck for gunshot wounds, there's a number of articles on it. One, of course, that I wrote and put up on the website a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, about the myth of the tactical tampon. Explains in fair detail about the difference between, penetrating trauma with regards to temporary cavitation and permanent cavitation, and what actually happens behind a gunshot wound when you look at the entrance hole. Those of you who hunt should already understand this. I'm kind of surprised by the amount of people who don't, but again, it's all good. This is about education, team. It's not belittling or anything like that. So yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Close quarters Kirakote. You'll need that duct tape to secure the nappies. So I just want to give a shout out to Close Quarters as well. If you don't follow him, head across to his page. Okay. I haven't managed to catch up with all my admin from the weekend. Give a shout out to the businesses who I really engage with. But this is a guy who's gone through some pretty heavy stuff over the last couple of years. I mean, a lot of people have, but this guy's been dealt some really shit blows. Head across, follow his page. He's gotten up on his feet all by himself. He's running a little business out of Hastings down in the Hawke Bay. And he's doing some amazing work with the old can and gun and getting people's rifles looking schmick. So support those small Kiwi businesses. And yeah, I haven't seen too much of his work come through, but hey, look, you got to try. We've got to go through and figure these things out. So I don't know. I might send him down. I don't know, to a rifle that I don't have, and get him to do something up. But yeah, we'll figure it out. But go through, drop him a like, and obviously you'll see more and more of his work. There's a bit of it on the old social media. So yeah, appreciate the support, man. Mad love for that. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, sanitary products. Gee, man. You could probably fit at least an Elias, if not two Elias bandages, or an Israeli, and a couple of packing gauze into a kit, or even just a ace wrap and a packing gauze or some friggin' gauze pads into a trauma kit instead of carrying around a sanitary product which isn't sealed up. It's not friggin'. It's just ridiculous. So can we just cut that stuff out and just carry real mid gear instead of women's sanitary products to put in their friggin' wounds and stuff? Gosh. Anyway, next question.
All right. So lucky last, we sort of touched on it already, but this one came up multiple times throughout the weekend. So once you put it on, TQs need to be released. Yeah, I'll let you handle this one, Si.
Yeah, sweet. So when we need to go through, we need to look at objectively why were you putting a TQ onto somebody's limb. It's really, really, really simple. It's because the person's going to die if we don't do it. You can exsanguinate or bleed to death within 10 minutes fairly easily, especially from the upper portions of the leg, be it your femoral artery, has been taken care of, whatever else. So we need to go through and we need to use tourniquet to obviously preserve that. Now, basically, when it comes to crunch, you're generally dealing with three different kind of problems when it comes to obviously the person dying. One is going to be obviously a pump problem, which is the heart. Okay, if that fails, you're going to die pretty quick. The other is a pipe problem, whether it's cut or burst, and that obviously leads also or dilated, and this leads into obviously a tank problem in terms of body fluid, in terms of volume within the body. And if we continue to lose it, we can't replenish it in time to go through and release. Now, there is a myth and rumor out there, like I said before, and it actually really pissed me off. I'm not going to lie, it really pissed me off to hear that there's somebody out there teaching on some hunting course around the Waikato too, apparently, who's teaching people to go through and release a tourniquet every 7 minutes, and that you're going to lose limbs and all that kind of stuff. It's just not the case. First of all, if you've been shot in the leg by a 308 or a 7 mil or something like that, there's a chance you may lose the leg, especially if it's gone through the bone, shattered everything, all the rest of it. It's really subjective, okay? But don't get wrapped up with that. If you apply the tourniquet from high velocity ballistic trauma, there is a chance that you're going to lose it. If you've ever seen somebody who's recovered from gunshot wounds, the extent to tissue loss is significant, even from small things. 556 or 223 is really, really, really significant. Okay, so it's a really good reminder not to get shot. Maybe I'll do a post on that sometime on social media. I don't know. So yeah, basically we are trying to keep blood inside of the actual tank. Just look at it as you've written it off. Look, the reality is it's going to be 2 hours before you're actually going to, starting to get into a position where you're going to require things like sodium carbonate and stuff like that to actually release the tourniquet so that you don't have that reperfusion injury go through your body. That's no big deal. Okay, there's even extended periods beyond that. Now, tourniquets can stay on fairly safely for up to 6 hours. If they are obviously on longer than that, then there is a really large increase or a chance of obviously losing that limb. But again, when we look at it, okay, if you were shot in your limb or whatever else, look, make the decision, life or limb. If the blood vessel is that badly damaged that it isn't going through, or sorry, that it is sitting there and it's going to cost you your life, it's not going to perfuse the rest of your limb anyway, effectively. So you're just wasting your time with it. Again, trainers, sort your lives out. Okay, ask yourself, are you actually really the best person to be going out there and teaching this kind of stuff? And I'm sorry, I was seeing kind of negative about it, but it really does piss me off. You're teaching people who just lap up all the information and they sit there and they take your word as gospel. They go out into the wide world and, lo and behold, this is the product. So if you put a tourniquet on at basic life support level, leave it on. Simple as that. Cool. So comment there from Steve O. Steve O in the house. Maybe lose the limb that you're likely to lose or always going to lose, or bleed out and die. Tough choice. No shit, man. It's really pretty much that simple, man. Go through and square that thing away. So yeah, absolutely, totally agree with that. That's super important. So yeah, that's probably the wrap on that, I think. Was there anything else that you can think of from Sika?
No, I think I think that was the main ones, and like I said, most of those came through multiple times. This one for real. I mean, I know you and I debriefed after it, but this one had by far the least amount of crazies come through with like real space cadet stuff. So, that was kind of refreshing to see. And, a lot of these ones that we did see over the weekend, they're quite common ones that pop up on courses and stuff like that. And we do address quite a lot of this stuff through studies and through evidence-based everything. So have just got a quick question pop up here, which I think we might just quickly flick across to before we move on from Taylor. Sure. Crush injuries, removing crushing weight immediately, no matter how long the patient has been trapped.
Yeah, okay, crush injuries. Remove crushing weight immediately, no longer how long the patient be trapped. No, that's not quite accurate. So when we go through and we look at it, if you witness the crush or whatever else, if someone's being entrapped or whatever, it's obviously going to be a fairly significant object if they can't get it off the top of them. You've got to remember there could be things, it depends on the mechanism, whether it's natural disaster, be it a concrete beam or a girder or whatever else which has fallen across somebody, the limbs are probably gone, okay, and good luck on trying to lift that thing up. The other one that we've got to deal with is obviously things like quad bikes, motorcycles, vehicle rollovers, so vehicular incidents and accidents, and that's another really common cause of crush as well. Again, if you've got a car lying across your abdomen, okay, there's nothing in the world which is going to save you anyway. Basically, the trauma is probably going to be so extensive that that's it. When it comes to things like motorcycles and quad bikes, I recently had a course. There was a person on the course who had had that happen and had a spinal injury associated with it. But the reality is, if you don't remove the bike from the person, they're going to end up going through and obviously succumbing, potentially to positional asphyxia, if the airway isn't maintained, or if the person goes through loses consciousness, isn't able to maintain the airway, they're going to die. When it comes to things like, say, a log across the legs or whatever else, just hypothetically speaking, just giving a random kind of scenario here, someone's cutting a tree down, tree falls, lands on their legs, person's sitting there screaming their head off, whatever else, and it's half an hour or even 40 minutes until somebody comes along, and you get the tree off their legs. That's not going to kill them through reperfusion injury. Anything outside of 1 hour is considered for that. Now, I just want to jump on that really quick, and here we go for another thing, and another wee rant about tourniquets. Pre-positioning of tourniquets on the limbs before removing the object, if it is the lower limbs or upper limbs, if someone's got their arm stuck in something, is a really, really good idea if it's viable. Okay, if it's viable. If it's not, if you can free the person like basically instantaneously, then do it. Okay, we don't want them stuck and trapped and all the rest of it. But if there is a long period before extrication, before they're actually removed from that area, pre-placed tourniquets, obviously at least 3 to 4 inches, or sorry, 2 to 3 inches, but I say at least 3 inches or one hand span above where you can see the highest injury has taken place. This is so important, not to wind the windlass up, just to pre-put them on so that when you remove that weight, from that leg, or the crushing mechanism from their legs or from their arm, if there is an associated massive bleed, if the limb hasn't obviously been driven into things like dirt, mud, whatever else, okay, then we can go through and straight away, if there is that massive bleed, all we got to do is spin that windlass. And again, this is why the soft tourniquet, the soft 5 tourniquet, absolutely kicks ass. There's no Velcro. Once you've got the clip in place, there's no need to actually wrap it right back around the limb or anything like that. And once you've got the clip in secure, okay, pulled all the slack out of it, all you got to do is spin the windlass and you're away laughing. So certainly for entrapments and stuff like that, that is just a huge advantage. So hopefully that answers the question there, Taylor. Basically, as a rule of thumb, anything under 1 hour, we remove the object immediately. If anything over an hour, then just don't, and that's where we call through to emergency doctor to come through and make an assessment and do what they do to get paid the big bucks. So look at it like that. If you're working remote or anything like that, one of the things which is going to save your ass in this instance, instead of lying there half a day or whatever trapped under something, is an EPIRB. Keep it on you. It's no good on the bike. It's no good there. It's all, you've got to have that thing on you. Okay, so TQ on you, EPIRB on you. Look after yourself. Think about that self-aid too. So hopefully that answers the question, Spencer. Taylor.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, cool. Unless any other questions pop through, I think we should move on to our super exciting announcement. So Taylor's just said, awesome. Thanks for clearing that up. All good. That's what he does. He's good like that. Yeah. All right, cool. What do we got? What's coming up?
Okay.
23.
Sweet it is. All right. So I actually, as most of you know, we've kind of invaded the first aid training space with regards to the unit standards 6402, 6401, and 6400. We've got Stop the Bleed. We've also launched a Working on Heights program. I've got a big background in that in terms of working militarily from airframe and also going through and doing industrial heights as well, rope access, all the rest of it with regards to tech rigging. Now, that's very close to my heart, but medicine is always going to be something which is at the forefront, pre-hospital medicine in particular. I don't actually feel that this is my place to announce, though, because I've been working very hard in those other kind of areas. We need to acknowledge those who have been in behind the scenes doing what they've been doing. So what I want to do is basically hand across to Steph. She'll explain exactly what we're just about to launch in very limited quantities initially. We're working with a lot of closed clients with this kind of stuff, so we just do not have the time. We physically do not have the time at this point to go through and get this out to the masses. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff coming up, please, for God's sake, go through, okay, and don't be hesitant in terms of squeezing the trigger on it. Anyway, Steph, our big announcement. Okay, finally, everyone's sitting there going, shut up, man, just send it. So send it.
Send it. All right. So, as from January next year, we will be running our pre-hospital emergency care courses. Now, some of you guys might be familiar with other providers' versions of this course. Obviously, we're not other providers. We've been working, I've been working pretty hard with old Steve O'Keefe, who's popped up a couple times tonight. He's one of our absolute knowledge bases. He's incredible, incredible amounts of practical experience, teaching experience, all of the good things to develop this new program that's going to be absolutely a game changer. So, the goal for this course is basically to bridge the gap between a first aider, so your 1 and 2 day first aid courses, and your emergency responders, so your EMTs, your paramedics, etc. What we know, and I've been in some meetings with some of these organizations, who are the full responders, and what they've basically said is, you guys are literally doing what we need, because there's so much strain on the industry at the moment, where we know that call outs aren't happening as fast as everyone would like. We know that unfortunately there's staffing issues, there's a whole myriad of problems that's changing the quality and quantity of our ability to rely on emergency services. So this pre-hospital emergency care course is designed for sort of two streams of folk. One, for our industry, heavy industry, any of those sorts of high risk workplaces where they need to set up emergency response teams or emergency responders to basically, like I said, bridge that gap between the first aiders and the paramedics. It is also for people, it's just for the general people who just want to get better knowledge. I've had a heap of inquiries from people, in the conversations that I've had, a lot of people who just want to learn more, and that's absolutely awesome. Always keen to have people who just want to learn more on these courses as well. It's also really great for those who are in the outdoor or recreational kind of industries, your ski field workers, your kayak instructors, all those sorts of things. Basically, what this course will give you outside of your, general workplace first aid courses is a whole host of pragmatic skills and tips and tricks that's going to basically equip everybody to respond. So everything from pre-planning of events and risk management, all the way through to, advanced level med, not crazy. Obviously, you're not paramedics, but advanced airways up to O2 therapy, spinals and all these sorts of things. It's going to go through a whole bunch of pretty hectic scenarios. Once we've built you up to the level of doing those, obviously it still needs to build at the base, make you aware of the what, the why, the how, do the skills. Then we get into some pretty hectic scenarios. So we've got currently 4 courses pegged for 2023 for the pre-hospital emergency care. I do expect them to probably sell out. They are all up in Auckland at this stage. They're all up in Auckland at this stage while we're searching for venues across the country. The first, or the courses that are the public access courses, you've got 3 daytime sessions, 1 nighttime session, so we can throw some scenarios at you in environments that you're probably not used to working in. We're aiming to, think outside the box, make this as realistic as possible to give you the absolute best chance of success. For those of you who are in heavy industry or in high risk industries, this is an incredible course because we're able to deliver 5 unit standards. In amongst those are things that will help your people work within your organization's policies and procedures. So when we're looking at the post course work that needs to be done, they'll be able to go through and basically audit your entire emergency response plans, audit your first aid equipment, audit your your JSRs and your risk registers, all those sorts of things. You'll be using your own internal documents so that your people are being trained in your policies and basically just becoming extremely effective workers. It's absolutely exciting. We're so stoked to be able to bring this out. We've got a bunch of new toys that we'll be releasing for them as well. So it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. You've never seen anything like this in New Zealand. I have had very limited work or involvement in terms of actually putting this thing together, but I have been overviewing it as it's been going along. And I just want to say thank you again to Steph and, of course, Steve O'Keefe. Personally, I believe, actually, no, I don't believe, I know, and sorry if that seems arrogant, but no, it's confidence, complete and absolute confidence that not only is this going to be easily the best course in this country, but I think this is going to be world class as well. And so, yeah, I think that brings us to a bit of conclusion. Get on the show. Is it up for release now? And how do people go through and book on the Steph?
Basically, it's standby for now. You can inquire if you are interested. I have got a list of people who have just sent a general inquiry about it. And if you do that just on our regular website, not right now because our regular website has going into maintenance today, but you can shoot me an email at info@pracmednz.com and just say, hey, put me on the list. I will be contacting those people within the next 7 days with some basically intro specials, one and done. This is the one time they'll get that for that first course. After that, it will be up on the website. Most likely next week, you'll be able to see all the details, all the nitty gritties, and go from there.
Yeah, 110%, and it's going to be awesome. Like I said, there's going to be nothing like it. We've got some other communities that we're kind of wrapped up in that are going to make this thing absolutely extraordinary. So, yeah, keep your finger on the pulse. Yeah, we're not going to offer a fake refresher. Anthony's just popped up there. We don't offer refreshers. It's simple as that, and that's purely because, and again, not trying to bark or anything like that, Anthony. But it's very, very simple. The other standard training is just not where we need it to be for people to come on board and actually get anything from it. So apologies for that if it seems kind of rude. It's going to be a 4-day course. It is going to be completely worth the 4 days of your time. And the reason why we want to make it so epic is because of that. Time is the only real commodity that you have. So thank you for your time now. Thank you for spending it with us. Thank you for going through and obviously listening into some of these things that we've had to address. And thank you for coming through and seeing us at the Sika Show. Just before we go, I just want to go ahead and say, stand by. We are going to be having a sale. Yes, the website is down currently. That is for maintenance. Please stay off there. You'll be massively disappointed if you try and go through and get on the website at this point in time. But we will be having a sale, and that is to basically go through and reward those of you, or rather honor those of you who couldn't get through to Sika Show with some of those specials which are coming on board. So if you're after real training, if you're after real products which actually are going to save lives, instead of just masquerading and using it as a bit of a catchphrase, then please jump on board, okay? Follow us. You obviously do it on social media already. We're going to keep the good vibes flowing. We're going to keep the good information flowing. You wait until next year. Okay, we're only just really getting warmed up at the moment. There is some insane stuff coming. Okay, so keep your finger on the pulse, team. Okay, if you don't already, subscribe to the email as well. Great way to stay in comms. We don't spam you up. Okay, we send you relevant specials, information, all the rest of it. But yeah, anything you got to add, Steph?
No, that's me. Thanks for having me in front of the camera for a change. And I exist. I'm a human. So many people are always just think it's like Simon's pseudonym, Simon's alter ego, but no, actual human. So yeah, thanks. Always good yarns.
Nah, awesome. Hey, thank you so much, team. Thank you again for joining us. Stay safe out there, but remember, trauma sleeps on no one. The next time, it's the finals, man. It's simple as that. Train like you mean it. Stay sharp. Keep the edge sharp so that cut is nice and clean. Team, look after yourself. Like I said before, trauma sleeps on no one. Ad salutum is our impressum, okay? And that means to save lives. We've changed that up, and just before we go, the reason for that is because we're not just first aid now. We're pre-hospital emergency care, and we're working at heights, preventing you needing that stuff. So go through. If you need any of the stuff, check it out. NZQA accredited, and we bring the real deal. Thank you for your time again. Stay safe out there, New Zealand. Appreciate your time.